Hey guys, Josh Carter here with One Objective Outdoors. In today's video, we're going to be talking about these jerk baits. Stay tuned. Alright guys, like I said at the beginning of this video, we're going to be talking about jerk baits. And jerk baits is one of those baits that I feel like if you had to pick out of all the techniques out there, that you could probably go with a jerk bait and catch fish all year round. I mean, you literally can. I mean, from wintertime all the way through the seasons back to wintertime. I mean, you can, they're so versatile because you can fish them slow, you can fish them fast, you can just let it sit there. You can get deep ones, shallow ones. I mean, it's a very versatile bait, and I don't think that a lot of people give the bait credit as they should, because I know for a fact, me and James, a lot of our best finishes in bigger events have basically come off jerk baits. Like, I don't know what it is, but like, our finish down at Fork, that was jerk bait fishing. Some of the Federation events that we have fished that we've done really well in, had chances at winning, were jerk bait tournaments. So we've done good on other baits, but just kind of looking back through the history, a jerk bait has been a big key player for us in our success in tournament fishing and just, going out taking the family fishing and catching big fish. So I just kind of wanted to go over a few of the jerk bait brands that I use, why I use them, and then some differences to look out for with these baits as well. So, all right, let's dig into this. My number one jerk bait that I love to throw when we first got into jerk bait fishing was the Lucky Craft pointer, and it's table rock color. It seems like everywhere we went, you could catch them off of table rock, which is basically a purple back with a little, I say bone color, but it depends on the table rock that you go with, and it depends on when the bait was made, because I don't know if you can tell in the video or not, this one's got a little bit more chartreuse tint to it. And if you hold it in the light and you look at certain ways, I'm not going to say it's chartreuse, but most of the time it's like a bone color, and it's got like a green in it, like a chartreuse looking green. But if you take like this one here, as you can both see, now you can really see, these are both table rock. And look, this one right here has got a little bit more brighter green in it, and this one's more of the bone. Both got the purple backs, but this one's got a little more green. So what I always did, and I think we talked about this in a show one time, I was brief about it, was we would take it, and I'd have a few that are this little bit brighter color, but if I needed some to get back down to this color here, I'd put it in the dash of the truck and just let it kind of fade out and get that more bone color to it. Now, the thing about all different brands have different sizes in jerk baits, whether it's like a 98 or a 112 or and so on. It keeps getting 120. They keep getting bigger, But the cool thing I liked about Lucky Craft, this is why we threw Lucky Craft a lot, was because I could go down to the smaller ones. But this one here, this is a pointer. This is their deep diver, but it's really small compared to here. Now, the size that I normally threw, which was the 95. Let me make sure, yeah, it was a 95. I mean, you could see the difference in size here. Now, the cool thing about it is I threw this, because a lot of times early in the spring you had your gizzard shad that was coming up, and you also had your L-wise. So if you knew they were primarily on gizzard shad, or you could have two different sizes tied on, you could get back there if you got a lot of big bait, or if you're getting there and you see a lot of tiny bait, you could go with your smaller pointer. But during the fall and winter, when you're really starting to see a lot of them really teeny shad, you could downsize even more and go down a little bit smaller. Now, I know like some jerkbait companies, they do have smaller sizes, but it seemed like the Lucky Craft always fit my needs when it come to different styles and all that, really. But the Lucky Craft is one of my favorites. Another one of the baits that I love to throw, other than the Lucky Craft, I started getting into them. Now, they're a little more pricey. I mean, you're looking at $25 a bait, was the Mega Bass. And this is the Vision 110. Like I say, nice little shad color here, as you can see. Now, there's a lot of baits out there that are very similar to Mega Bass now, and a lot better price point. And that's the Berkeley Stunner here. Very similar bait. they do get, and I've tested with the live scope and all that, the depth ranges. I do get a little bit more depth out of the Mega Bass. I love the stunner. We've caught a lot of fish off of this since it's been released. I've actually got away from throwing the Mega Bass as much, but if I needed to get just a little bit more depth out of it, even if I switched over to the stunner 112 plus 1, which as you can see, this is the regular stunner, this is the plus 1, you can see the difference in the lip there, how much bigger it is and longer it is. Helps get a little bit more depth. You don't get as deep as you think you would with the plus 1, but an extra foot is a big deal when you're throwing a jerkbait sometimes, because like say you're not trying to get it down to the same depth as the fish, you're just trying to get this above their heads. And I've had fish, especially depending on the clear water, coming all the way from 20, 25 foot of water up to hit this thing when it's in about 7 to 8 foot of water. Now there's tricks you can do with suspend dots and all that stuff to really help the bait get down deeper. But factory out of the box, the way they are, when it comes down to your regular size jerkbaits, you know, if I needed just a little extra depth, I would go to the Mega Bass. But for the action that you get with these, I always felt like the stunner was just right there with it. Now you're looking at $14 for a jerkbait compared to $25. Now, like I said, they all got their place and different colors. You know, they all got different colors from one another. But it seems like, to me, every jerkbait company has a Table Rock jerkbait. You know what I mean? So, I mean, this is Berkley's Table Rock, purple back, Lucky Crafts, Table Rock. And then I also have a Lucky Strike here as well. If I get the hooks out. This one is just like a Lucky Strike. I don't know if you guys remember those, or they even still really make much of it. But that's their Table Rock. But, you know, a lot of baits have Table Rock. So I'm always, if I'm out somewhere and I see one and it's a Table Rock color, I love picking it up. I love getting it. But if you notice how much more green they have on theirs, it's very similar to the other one, the Lucky Craft I was showing you. So I think originally this was supposed to probably be more of your Table Rock than just the straight bone color with the purple back. But that's how we was catching them, so we was always trying to duplicate it with our baits. But this is a Lucky Strike. I throw it a little bit. I don't throw it too much now that I've gotten more into the stunners and the Mega Bass and the Lucky Crafts and all that stuff. But basically though, in my jerkbait selection, it's very simple when it comes to colors. Table Rock, and then I always got some kind of shad color, like right here. This is more of your, I can't remember what they call this color, but it's got that real shiny side to it. More of a darker back. Sorry, the camera get that right, but got that little bit darker back on it. It don't really have no orange belly or nothing like that, but a lot of times what I'll do with those is I'll change the hooks to a red, like you seen in the one I just had here, where I'll put that on there. Now, if I notice the fish are kind of swatting at it and they're getting the back hooks, or they're just kind of coming up and they're not really messing with it, they're not touching it, I'll change my hook and I'll put that red hook on there, and I have noticed an increase in hookups. And a lot of people, oh, that's bull crap, that ain't true, blah, blah. Every fisherman's different. Everybody's got their own confidence, I guess, in each bait and how they do it, and to make that bait perform or get more bites. And, you know, that's what I like to do, as you see in this one. I've changed the hooks to red. I got some that don't, I got some that do. That one's missing an eye, that one's caught some fish. But anyways, getting back to my colors, I got the Table Rock, and then I'll get something more shad-oriented colors. I don't mess with a lot of bright colors. Like, Table Rock's about as bright as I go. I know there's clown, there's all, a lot of people probably catch fish off those colors. I just don't. I don't use those particular colors. Now, if I know I'm going to be in a lake, like say you go up north and you're fishing, they got a lot of yellow perch, and a couple of lakes that I fish down around James's area has got a lot of yellow perch in it. I'm trying to get all these baits loose here and it's just not working. Then I'll go to a more yellow perch color. Wow, them hooks are sharp. Like that. And that's a stunner as well. Actually, I got a big selection of stunners now. But something I've noticed here lately, all over the country we've been, is it seems like my baits that have orange on the belly have been more of the producing baits. Now, getting back to the Lucky Craft, it don't really have orange on the belly, but it's got pink. So I don't know if it's the orange or if it's just the breakup on the bottom. But look, that's the stunner right there. That whole belly is orange. Now this is another color, it's white. It's like a pearl side. It's clear, really. I don't know if you can see my finger through there or not. It's clear, but it's got a pearl sprayed over it, and then the whole back is pearl. This has been a great color for us. This has been really, really good color for us. No matter where we've gone across the country, it seems like everywhere we go, we can throw that jerkbait and catch something. Now this is another one. I'll throw this more towards the fall. It's got that black back with the white side, but if you also notice, boom, got some orange in it. So it seems like a lot. When I'm looking through my jerkbait box here, and I'll pan through here in just a minute, it seems like the baits that have orange on the bottom has been a better producing bait for us, or a little bit of red on the bottom has been a bit better producing bait for us. But you know, like I say, when I talk about lure differences, and you got a lure that you do really well on, you know, sometimes you'll have a crankbait that you're like, man, I've caught so many fish off this crankbait. Say you tie on a fresh one, you go out there and you're like, man, I ain't got a bite off this crankbait. Sometimes I feel like it's something different in that paint. I don't know what it is. It might not be nothing. Maybe it's just the confidence you had in that bait and you ain't got it no more. But for instance though, if you look here, look at the difference. These are the exact same Lucky Craft baits. I showed you Table Rock earlier. Now look at the difference in pinks. Hardly any on this one. Look how much is on that one. So I always inspect my baits when I buy them. I just don't pick it up. Oh, that's the one I want. That's the color I normally throw. I'm taking that one. I don't do that. I inspect them pretty good and try to find something that's a little more consistent of what I throw. One other bait that I like to throw that I've just started throwing. I mean, this is here recently, and this is the Flash Boost from Shimano. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm trying to get it where the camera. You see that blade inside? It's cool when you're jerking that thing down and it stops and it just sits there and flashes like that. It just keeps moving. And sometimes that might just be that one little thing you need to help get just to persuade that fish into biting. These all suspend really well. I mean, watching on live scope and all that, they suspend really well. But sometimes it's just sitting there. You can't do much more with it. So I think Shimano really did a good job on having that to where that little piece of metal inside keeps flashing. I've only caught just a couple fish off of that bait, but I haven't thrown it a lot like I have these other baits. So my confidence in it ain't as high, because most time I go out, I'm like, all right, I'm picking this bait up and this is what I'm throwing, you know, and I'll start changing up if I don't get no bites. But you know, and then I got the Rapala, but this is more of that IU color. So it's got the chrome. Look at that. Orange belly, a little bit darker back on it, and this I'll throw in the spring and summer, and especially if you get on the rivers and stuff where them smallmouth like some of them golder colors. Smallmouth love that color right there, especially on the rivers. That's a good little bait there. But if you notice too, like in my mega basses, that's kind of the same deal with that IU looking color. But I'll pan through here just a little bit, kind of let you see what my jerkbait box really looks like. I keep it, like I say, somewhat simple. I do have one other color here I'd like to show you in the stunners. This has been a good little color too. See, it's got the chartreuse on the side. This one don't really have orange belly on it, but got the darker back. But you know, basically all my baits are resembling a shad. I mean, that's basically what they're supposed to look like anyways, from a perch to a shad. But most of the time, everywhere I go, the fish that I'm looking for are shad oriented. If they're going into bluegill colors, I'm going a whole different route, you know what I mean? But I do have some baits like this IU shad and all that stuff that might help resemble bluegill a little bit. But most of the time when I'm throwing these, I'm trying to impersonate a shad when it's coming through the water there. So, but other than that, that's kind of my baits that I throw. All of these, I'm throwing anywhere between 8 to 10 pound test on a medium heavy rod. So I got a Falcon Expert rod I'm throwing right now. It's a medium heavy. There's a lot of great rod companies out there that are making jerkbait specific rods. That's a hard word to say sometimes. I want to say Pacific a lot of times, but specific rods that are made just for jerkbait fishing. A lot of mine, because I'm fishing in a kayak and a bass boat, I'm going with like a 6'6" medium medium action, medium heavy. It all depends on the rod company. like the Falcon rods that I throw, they're more of a medium. And if you go with some other companies, you can get a medium heavy that feels more like a medium, you know. So I always tell people, get out there, play with the rod, you know, like put it down on the ground and see where it's bending at, see if you got that good parabolic bend, see how fast the tip is on it, because that's what you want, because they'll hit this thing as you're jerking it, and you really got to pay attention to your line working a jerkbait. As you're working it and you stop and you have that slack there, you'll see them hit it. So a lot of times you want to have a softer tip, for one, where you're not going to jerk the jerkbait out of their mouth. A lot of times they'll set the hooks. All you got to do is just kind of lay back into them a little bit. And then also, it's got that really soft tip, so when you're jerking it down, you're not with a heavier rod, you're going to pull it through the water way too fast. You got a lot of give on it when you're trying to pop that bait down, and it just does small jerks in the water. Because if you had a heavier action rod, you're going to really pull it through the water. So you can control it with a medium action rod by just, you know, either fast jerks or, you know, slowing it down and letting it sit and suspend for a little while. Now, when it comes to figuring out when to, how long to let it sit and all that stuff, you really got to just play it by how it is on the water that day. I've had days where I've been out there in the winter, air temperature's 45 degrees, water temperature's like 48, and I had to just like, it was about like reading a book between each jerk, you know. But I was also had days where it's very similar, but it was cloudy, and they wanted me popping it fast. So, I mean, you just got to fish the moment and see how the fish are acting that day and how they want it, and then just play with it then, because it's not always going to be the same. You got one day and do this, and the next day it's going to be totally different. So, and it can be like that with color as well. I mean, I've had it to where they've gone through and hit that color. The next day I've had to change up. I don't know if I got used to that color or everybody else is on that color, but I had to change up. So, and a lot of times during jerkbait season, and I say season, you can throw it all year long, but for me, like if I know like it's hardcore jerkbait season with the water temperatures in the low to upper 40s to the mid 50s, to me that's jerkbait, that's prime jerkbait season for me. And I'll have like maybe 2 different colors, 3 different colors tied on. And then, you know, during the summer, I'll kind of just roll down to, I'll have one color on, and I'll throw it here and there, depending on where I'm at. So, but other than that, guys, that's all I got. If you got any questions, please write them down in the description below. We'll try to answer them. And then, you know, let us know, what is some of your favorite jerkbaits that you love to throw? What is your go-to jerkbait? You don't have to tell me color, because I know not everybody likes to share that info. But if you'd like, share your color down there below too. I like to check it out. So, other than that, guys, I'll talk to you later. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share this video with your friends. See you later. Bye.